This flower is not just a flower. To a bee, it can look like a landing target, painted in colors human eyes cannot see. Walk through a garden as a human, and you see petals, stems, and sunlight. Fly through it as a bee, and some ordinary flowers suddenly carry arrows, rings, and glowing borders. A bee does not see a sharper version of our world. It sees a different world, built from different colors, different eyes, and a different job. That job is simple and brutal. Find nectar, find pollen, remember where it was, get back before the flight costs more energy than the meal is worth. The first weird part is the eye itself. A bee has two huge compound eyes, and each one is made from thousands of tiny visual units, like a curved wall of miniature lenses. In a worker honeybee, each compound eye has roughly 5,000 to 6,000 ommatidia. Each ommatidium samples a tiny slice of the scene, and the bee's brain builds a usable picture from all of them. That does not mean bees see a cartoon honeycomb overlay. It means their vision is collected in pieces, with lower fine detail than ours, but with exactly the information a flying insect needs. A human can read tiny letters from across a room. A bee cannot. Its world is not built for reading edges at distance. It is built for detecting flowers, motion, direction, and safe places to land. And above the compound eyes are three small, simple eyes called ocelli. They are not for admiring flowers. They help sense light levels and the horizon, keeping the bee stable in flight. Now the real twist. Human color vision is built around red, green, and blue. Bee color vision is shifted toward shorter wavelengths. Bees use ultraviolet, blue, and green. That means a pure red flower does not blaze red to a bee the way it does to us. Without other signals, red can look dark, almost like a shadow. But at the other end of the spectrum, bees gain something we do not have. Ultraviolet light, invisible to us, becomes part of their color world. Ultraviolet is not just extra purple, it is outside human sight. We can show it with false colors, but the bee is actually detecting light our eyes completely miss. Many flowers absorb ultraviolet light in some places and reflect it in others. To us, the petals may look plain. To a bee, those differences can turn into bold markings. The most famous pattern is the bullseye. The outer petals may stand out while the center absorbs ultraviolet, creating a dark target around the flower's reward. This is not decoration. It can guide the bee toward the place where nectar is hidden and pollen is waiting to stick to its body. The bee gets food, but the flower gets delivery. When the bee brushes the anthers, pollen clings to its hairs. The next flower may receive that pollen without the bee meaning to help at all. A bee's body is covered in branching hairs. Under a close view, it does not look smooth. It looks like a living brush built to collect dust from flowers. So the secret color pattern is part of a trade. The flower advertises a route to food, and the bee accidentally carries the flower's genes to the next stop. This is why a flower that looks simple to us may be screaming visually to a bee. The message is not meant for human eyes. It is meant for an animal the size of a fingernail arriving from the air. Imagine trying to land on a moving platform while your fuel is running down. The flower may sway. The wind may shove you sideways. The target has to be easy to read fast. Bees are especially good at detecting quick changes in the visual scene. Motion that blurs for us can remain useful information to them as they fly through stems, shadows, and petals. To a walking human, a meadow is a field of color. To a flying bee, it is a stream of expanding shapes. The useful flowers grow larger in the eye as the bee closes in. Color is only part of the system. Bees also learn shapes, edges, symmetry, and patterns. A flower is not just a colored spot, it is a remembered combination of signals. A foraging bee is not a tiny robot blindly following ultraviolet paint. It learns which flowers pay off, which colors match nectar, and which landmarks lead back to the hive. Once a bee finds a rewarding flower type, it often keeps visiting that same kind during a trip. That loyalty helps the plant because pollen is more likely to reach the right species. Many bee-pollinated flowers look blue, violet, yellow, or white to us. In bee vision, those colors can combine with ultraviolet reflection and absorption to create signals we cannot name. Some color combinations that bees can detect have no clean human equivalent. A surface can reflect ultraviolet and longer wavelengths together, creating a bee color that we can only translate, not truly see. The center of the flower is where the mystery becomes mechanical. Nectar is often tucked down inside. To reach it, the bee must land where the flower wants contact. A guide pattern can reduce searching. Instead of wandering across petals, the bee lands, lines up, and reaches the reward faster. Faster feeding means more flowers visited in one trip. That speed can benefit the flower too. A visitor that enters the right way is more likely to touch the correct parts, instead of stealing nectar from the side and leaving pollen behind. No flower decided to write instructions in ultraviolet. Over generations, flowers with signals that attracted the right pollinators left more seeds. Bees that read useful signals found more food. The signal is shaped by sunlight, background leaves, shadows, and other flowers competing nearby. A good floral signal must stand out from green clutter in a busy living world. Leaves reflect strongly in wavelengths bees can detect, but flowers often create contrast against that leafy background. The bee does not need beauty, it needs separation. Even white flowers may not be blank. Some reflect ultraviolet strongly, others hide ultraviolet absorbing centers. Two petals that look equally white to us may be very different to a bee. A yellow flower can also carry a secret. In visible light, it may look like one solid color. In ultraviolet, the petal tips and the base can split into a target. Sunflower relatives can show ultraviolet bullseyes that are invisible to us. The human sees a golden disk. The bee may see a high-contrast map wrapped around the center. Bee vision is not only about flowers. Parts of their eyes can detect polarized light in the sky. That hidden pattern helps them keep direction, even when the sun is not obvious. The sky is not just blue to a bee. It contains orientation information. A forager can use that celestial pattern with landmarks and memory to navigate between flowers and home. Finding a flower is only half the mission. The bee must also return to the colony, where nectar becomes shared food, and the location of good flowers becomes valuable information. Inside the dark hive, bees use touch, vibration, scent, and the famous waggle dance to share direction. Outside, vision helps turn that information into a real route through the landscape. Bee vision is not precise like a microscope. It is precise like a pilot's dashboard. It tells the bee where the target is, how fast the world is shifting, and which way home should be. And the system has risks. Some predators and flower mimics exploit the same visual world. If a bee can be lured by contrast, another organism can sometimes use contrast against it. Now look at the garden again. The petals are not just pretty surfaces. They are signs in an insect language, tuned by millions of visits, mistakes, rewards, and successful landings. That ordinary flower from the beginning was never ordinary. It was a target, a runway, a food sign, and a pollen trap all at once. The strangest part is that both sides are honest enough for the system to work. The flower really offers food. The bee really carries pollen. The hidden colors keep the deal moving. Humans can walk past a bloom and think we have seen it. But a bee arrives and reads another layer, written in ultraviolet: motion, shape, and memory. A bee's world is not smaller than ours. It is aimed differently. Where we see a pretty garden, the bee sees a working map of invisible targets, leading from flower to flower to flower.